Forget everything Hollywood taught you about werewolves. No full moon. No silver bullets. No mysterious bite deep in a dark forest. The real first werewolf wasn't bitten. He wasn't cursed by chance. He was a king, and he became a monster because of what he served for dinner. 3,000 years ago, a king named Lycaon decided to test a god. He killed someone. He cooked the body. He served it to Zeus, king of all gods, at his own table. By the end of that night, Lycaon wasn't a king anymore. He was a wolf. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what was on that plate, why Zeus let it happen instead of stopping it, and why this one dinner is the reason every werewolf legend you've ever heard exists. A stranger is walking up the mountain road into Arcadia. He's alone, dressed like a beggar. No guards, no weapons, nothing worth robbing. In this part of Greece, that kind of stranger gets one of two things: a meal in a bed, or a knife in the dark. The rule is simple, and everyone knows it. You never turn away a traveler, because you never really know who's underneath the rags. Some say it could be a god. The stranger reaches the palace gates. Inside those walls sits King Lycaon, ruler of Arcadia, father to 50 sons, some say even more. A king that powerful doesn't answer to anyone. Not other kings. Not the rumors. Not even Olympus. And there are rumors. Whispers that travelers who enter this palace don't always leave. That something happens after sunset that no one talks about in daylight. Most people dismiss it as fear. How could a mortal king openly disrespect the gods and get away with it? Lycaon lets the stranger in anyway. He's heard the same rumor everyone else has, that Zeus sometimes walks among mortals in disguise, testing them. And instead of fear, Lycaon feels something else. Curiosity. If this really is Zeus, he thinks, I'll expose him. If he isn't, I've lost nothing. So he sets a trap of his own. That night, there's a feast. Torches, wine, a place set for the guest of honor. And somewhere in the palace, someone else has already disappeared. Some tellings say a hostage, others say it's closer to home than that. Lycaon has the body prepared like any other dish, mixed in among the rest, and set down in front of his guest. His theory is simple. A real god will know instantly what's on the plate. A man pretending to be one will eat without ever suspecting a thing. One meal, one test, one way to find out the truth. The plate is set down. He was wrong. Zeus knows. The second the plate touches the table, he knows exactly what's in front of him. And here's the strange part. He doesn't stand up. He doesn't strike Lycaon dead on the spot, not right away. Gods in these stories don't usually wait. Smaller insults than this have gotten men turned to ash in seconds. So why does Zeus sit there, in silence, while Lycaon waits to see if his trap worked? Hold that question. It matters more than you think. The torches are still burning. Nobody at that table has moved. What happens next isn't fast. It isn't clean. Zeus is about to do something to Lycaon that no one in that room has ever seen, and it's not going to be over quickly. But there's one more detail sitting in that room nobody's talking about yet. Lycaon didn't do this alone. His sons are in that palace tonight. And what they were doing while that meal was being prepared changes who you think is actually guilty here. Zeus rises from the table. Slowly. No lightning yet. No word. He just looks at Lycaon and lets it begin. It starts at the skin. Lycaon feels it before anyone sees it. A tightening, a crawling heat, like something underneath is pushing its way out. Then the room sees it too. Coarse gray fur breaking through his arms. His fingers curling inward, hardening into claws. His spine bending forward, pulling him down toward the floor, joint by joint, until he's no longer standing on two legs. He tries to scream. What comes out is a howl. This is where the Greek version breaks from every werewolf movie you've seen. No full moon. No cycle. No cure waiting at sunrise. Lycaon turns once, and it's permanent. Not a curse that comes and goes. A sentence he serves for the rest of his life. And the Greeks were specific about why it had to be a wolf. In their eyes, wolves weren't just dangerous animals. They were the symbol of everything sitting outside the safety of civilization. Pack violence, savage instinct, a creature that lives by hunting instead of ruling. Zeus wasn't inventing a new nature for Lycaon. Ancient writers described it as revealing one that was already there. The king who acted like a beast in private would now look like one in public. That's the part most retellings soften. Some accounts even say his mind stayed intact inside the wolf, fully aware of what he'd become, unable to change back. now his sons. In several versions of this myth, Lycaon's own children helped prepare that meal. They knew exactly what was being served, and they served it anyway. So Zeus doesn't stop with the king. The punishment moves through the bloodline. This is the piece almost every retelling leaves out, and it's the difference between a monster story and a warning. Cruelty in that palace was never contained to one man. Which finally answers the earlier question. Why the wait? Because death would have ended the lesson too fast. Zeus wanted Lycaon breathing, aware, and finally wearing on the outside what he already was underneath. Lycaon runs, out of the hall, into the dark mountains he used to rule. No throne, no language to call for help. Just an animal now, moving through the same hills that once knelt to him. This isn't just an old, gory campfire story. This is the oldest known werewolf myth in Western history. Every man becomes monster story since. Every movie, every book, traces back to this one table in Arcadia. There's a detail most people miss about what happened right after. In the oldest surviving version of this myth, written by the Roman poet Ovid, Lycaon's punishment isn't where the story ends. Zeus looks out at humanity and decides this one king wasn't an isolated case, that cruelty like this had spread across the whole world. The very next myth Ovid tells is the Great Flood, a flood sent to wash out a generation that had become this corrupt. Historians still debate how directly the two stories are meant to connect, but the placement isn't an accident. One king's dinner becomes the reason the gods start over. And notice what the original myth was actually punishing. Not a bite, not a curse passed randomly between strangers, the way it works in modern movies. It was punishment for breaking trust, for looking civilized on the outside while doing something monstrous where no one could see. Betraying a guest, in Lycaon's world, wasn't just rude. It was one of the worst crimes a person could commit, because you never really knew who was sitting across from you. Lycaon's name never left. The word lycanthropy, the belief that a person can transform into a wolf, comes directly from him. Every man becomes monster story since is, in some way, still telling his story. The Greeks weren't just trying to scare people around a fire. They were asking something that hasn't gotten less relevant in 3,000 years. How much do you actually know about the people closest to you? And what would it take for you to find out what's underneath? So here's the question I want you to sit with. Zeus punished Lycaon by turning him into what he already was on the inside. If that same test happened today, if someone secretly judged you the way Zeus judged Lycaon, do you think most people would pass? Drop your answer in the comments. I actually read them. And if this is the kind of history that hooks you, there's a lot more waiting on this channel. Myths most people have never heard the full version of. Subscribe if you want the next one when it drops.